Alright, hello everybody. Welcome to my channel. Uh, my game name is There No One Else? I'm here with another build video. This time, this is going to be my Battlegrounds ready, no CP, no proc Stamina Nightblade build. You know, the way Battlegrounds currently is, procs are better, you know, across all classes, like in general. Like procs are just giving more damage. The way the game is set up, with team deathmatch, with domination, you know, capture the flag, it's just better to kill people fast. Like it's always just better to kill people fast. And if it were relatively close between procs and no procs, you know, a lot of people would not be relying on sets to carry them. But you know, with the way it currently is, procs are better. Stamina has access to more proc sets, and so they're kind of strong in there right now. But with all that being said, I know there are quite a few players out there that they don't want to run procs. They don't want to run, you know, they don't want sets getting their kills for them, and they want to be quote unquote non cheesy. So this is going to be my viable alternative for no procs. I'll explain why it works or why it's decent. Uh, Obviously, this isn't going to be as good as running Viper and Celine. You know, having two big proc sets on a Stamina Nightblade, they hit very hard. That's going to get you more kills than this is. But this setup works out well. Uh, you have good sustain, you have really good flat damage, your damage applies to your healing. A lot of this coincides and it works very well together. So, with that being said, you know, I want to dive into the strengths and weaknesses of Stamina Nightblade and explain why I made this the way I made it. So, Stamina Nightblade, unlike any other class, with animation canceling, you know, with incapacitating strike, with surprise attack, giving you major fracture. Incapacitating strike gives you 20% more damage for 5 seconds, I think, after you hit with it on a target. You know, your ambush grants you empower, so you hit 20% harder with that as well. So you ambush, you incap, and now your execute is hitting, you know, 20% harder. Like it is the burstiest class in the game. And because of that, if you can animation cancel well on a Stamina Nightblade, you can get away with less weapon damage than you can on other classes. Like, for instance, on a Stamina Templar, if you run too low of weapon damage, you just run into the issue of not being able to kill somebody. And that's not the case on a Nightblade. You can drain their stamina with fear, you can animation cancel. Obviously, Stamina Templar has other strengths that we don't have, but that's just a thing that we can do with this setup. So we can run a little bit less weapon damage and still get kills on a Nightblade because of that. But our biggest weakness as a Stamina Nightblade is there are still things that are single target abilities that pull us out of stealth. I found that Vampire's Bane pulls us out of stealth. You know, as far as AoE abilities, Inhale, Hurricane, the one Templar Purify, any curse will pull us out of stealth when that explodes. Like there are a lot of things that pull us out of stealth, so we can't reliably use our cloak for our defense. So I prefer to run heavy armor, and on a hold on one second. On a Nightblade, heavy armor works out very well because we have increased because we can get our burst damage with animation cancels, and we can come from out of stealth and we can hit very hard. We can run heavy. You know, if you run medium, you're going to hit 3 to 5% harder than running the same gear in heavy. That's understandable, but you gain so many other things that I prefer to run heavy over medium on my Nightblade. This increases Constitution passive is obviously very good. It gives you stamina and magic recovery. That's very important. Juggernaut increases your max health by 2% for each piece of heavy armor equipped. This is very good as well for this setup. So when we're getting hit, we have a little bit more health to where if these proc sets go off, they're going to drop us down. But you know, instead of us being execute range, because we have a little bit more health, we're now not in execute range. We can heal up, we can fear, we can get back into the fight. So that helps. Wrath passive. This helps make up for a lot of the medium armor strengths. Gilliam the Rogue basically came out and said, like, you know, medium armor, I think he said, hits like 3 to 5% harder in PvP compared to heavy. So I think that might have been with CP. Maybe that's a little bit different, but I don't notice a huge difference running heavy, and I gain resistances, I gain health, and I gain increased healing received. And this is why I run it. They increased the cost of vigor by 30%, and so you could run reduced cost on medium, but if you're taking less damage and you're healing better with your vigor and rally heals, I find that that's better than running medium. Like our heals just aren't going to be as good in medium armor. We're going to have to vigor more. We're going to have to pop our rallies more, and that's going to drain us more stamina, even with the reduced cost of medium, than we will in heavy. On top of that, this other part of this 5-piece increases the magic or stamina your heavy attacks restored by 25%. You know, heavy attacks with heavy attacks already in this patch return a lot of stamina or magicka, allowing it to get 25% more is even better. So that's how we're going to sustain. We'll be able to be in people's faces. We'll be able to apply pressure. We won't have to dodge, roll around, and drain stamina that way. We won't have to pop a lot of vigors. Heavy armor allows us to use it once and basically stay in their face and wind up heavy attacks or get our combos off, and it allows us to sustain a lot better than medium, in my opinion. So yeah, that's why we're running heavy armor on a stamina knight blade. Now people can disagree. If you want to go for the slightly more weapon damage, and you want to be more squishy, and you want to use shadow image and cloak to bounce around, that's fine. That's a very good play style, and I've used that quite a few times. But there are just some things you're going to get nuked by. Like if somebody hits you with a soul assault and you're at half health, you're essentially dead in medium. If somebody hits you with a few dots, like a Magicka DK, they dot you up and they hit you in talons and you can't escape, you're dead. Heavy armor allows you to be able to escape. So that's why I run heavy. Especially in a group play situation, if I'm the guy that's trying to take out the high health tanky targets, sometimes, when I'm focusing a Templar, I have everybody beating on me. Heavy allows me to stay alive to get kills. So you can't kill anybody if you're dead. And heavy armor is the best at making us not dead. So as far as gear goes, we're running 5 bone pirates on the body and with the jewelry. So all weapon damage. You guys have seen this set a million times. It's a very good set. Gives us a lot of stamina. The stamina applies to our weapon damage. It applies to our healing. It applies to our overall sustain, because the bigger our stamina pool is, the more sustain we're going to have. On top of that, it gives us very good recovery. So this is a very good 5-piece set. For stamina classes, this is one of the best 5-piece damage and recovery sets in the game. I think it is the best still. It's very good. And then as far as our other set goes, we're running 5-piece impregnable. Oh, that's what's going on. We're running 5-piece impregnable with divines. And the reason we're doing this is, if you look at the stats here, we get max health, we get max stamina, we get max magicka. So the 2, 3, and 4 piece is a universal set that applies to everybody. But the 24-12 critical resistance is really, really nice in no CP. No CP Battlegrounds. We're almost at cap crit resist with this. Makes us very tanky. Obviously, proc sets do not crit, but everything else does. Radiant Ticks, Soul Assault, Meteor, Destro Ulti, everything else can crit, and in no CP, people are more easily bursted because their crit resist is a lot lower. Last patch in CP, most people are running anywhere from 2,000 to 2,600 crit resist. Due to no CP, they're running anywhere from 12 to 1,700. I think 1,700 is 17 to 1,800 is about the max you can get with 7 heavy. Not counting the shield, but I think that's about what you can get. With this setup, with 5 divines, we're rocking 2,900 crit resist. So it makes us very tanky. People don't crit on us as hard, so we're not taking as much incoming damage, which means our heals are better, which means our sustain is better because we're not spamming heals. And we have decent damage because we don't have to heal as much, and we can run weapon damage on all 3 jewelry pieces. 2 bone pirates on the body. These are in pen. These are still from last patch. I just do not have divines. Divines would be better with this. But this works out just fine, obviously, and then the rest are all impregnable. I do have a Keijo on the big piece, just comes in handy. A little bit more health. I like to be around the 22k mark with all the proc sets running around. And then Divine Helmet. We're running a Maelstrom Maul. You can run the sword, like a Master's Greatsword with poisons. Either one is fine. Like we're going to run poisons, so we only want the 189 weapon damage. I've done some testing against like the practice dummy, and I've found that the Maul gives me slightly more damage against characters with 18k resistances, which is probably around what just about everybody's running. Swords obviously better against shields. I'm testing it, and then as far as poisons go, I do the double drain damage health poisons. And then on the back bar, we are running no poisons. We're running the Master's Bow, which gives us 301 weapon damage when we apply our poison injection to somebody. We are also running tripods. As far as our character sheet goes, fully buffed up. This is outside of PvP, obviously, so add another 5k, 5.5k to our health. But we're sitting at 2368 stamina recovery, 2284 weapon damage on the back bar, almost 33,000 stamina, 16,000 max health, and then in the best part of the bottom, 2910 critical resistance in no CP, which is very good. On our front bar, almost 2400 stamina recovery, 2700 weapon damage. That's not counting our poison injection, so another 300 on top of that. We have 3000 with 31, 590 stamina. So we are hitting very hard with this setup, and we are very tanky. Now, our stamina recovery does seem a little bit lower in heavy, but because we can weave heavy attacks with this setup, let me get my stamina down a little bit. Just pop Vigor, I guess. I think Vigor is more expensive. There we go. Because we're running heavy, we can charge up a lot of heavy attacks and surprise attacks, and this will be how we sustain. Like, you can just see there are 3 of them, and we're already back to full. Plus, with tripods, we'll be okay. We can fear people off us. We can dodge roll. We can get behind a corner. Buff up, cloak, and then heavy attack. And then once we come out, then we're hitting. There's a lot of combinations we can do with this setup if you need recovery back. But a lot of medium heavy attacks are very good with this setup. Now, why this works okay, and obviously, like I said, this isn't going to be better than procs, but this is for those of you guys that don't want to run procs. This setup, my surprise attacks hit, with my Viper setup, my surprise attacks hit for about 5,400. With this setup, with the sword, my surprise attacks hit for about 7,000. So I hit 1,600 harder, a little over, around 30% harder. So that means my surprise attacks are hitting 30% harder, my light attacks and heavy attacks are hitting 30% harder, my in cap is, my heals are a little bit better, and my poison injection's better. So all these, and then my poisons are also buffed by my max weapon damage, so even my poisons are buffed a little bit more, so I can apply a little bit more pressure. So every 4 seconds, you get about a 6,000, 6,500 Viper proc, which, cut in half is 3,200. You can get, in 4 seconds, you can get a lot of these weaves off. You can probably get about 3 weaves off in 4 seconds. So you get 800 more, roughly, on your surprise attacks with this setup compared to Viper. So that's 2,400 back. That's not counting your light attacks that you're also hitting harder with. So you do hit harder from a flat damage perspective with this compared to that one, so your executes are going to hit harder. You'll be able to finish a little bit better with this setup. However, where Viper succeeds compared to this is your burst damage with Viper. Like, all of a sudden you hit with a 3k Viper proc, let's say you hit with a medium attack here, that's 1,600. Your surprise attack right here, that's 2,800, 2,900. You hit for all these things really quickly, and all of a sudden they're at 8k health, and then you fear, and then you in-cap, and then you execute. And that's why Viper's so good, is because Nightblades work better with burst damage, and that just gives you more burst. Every 4 seconds, you're going to have this quick burst with the Viper proc that allows you to finish people off. And procs, I'm not denying it, procs are better. That's just the way it is. But if you don't want to run that, I've had very good success with this setup. I've had very good kills, or kill death ratios in team deathmatch with the setup. I'm not going to rattle off kills with this like a Nightblade running Viper and Selene would be, but if you're looking at this build video and you're looking for an alternative and you want to get kills your way, this allows you to be tanky, it allows you to have good sustain, and it gives you pretty good flat damage with Bone Pirates and everything else. Obviously, you don't have to run poisons. You can spec some things out differently. Like if you have the Maelstrom weapon, you can run crit rush here instead of ambush and get that dot, and then you don't run poisons and you run your surprise attack. Uh, yeah, that's going to be the end of the setup. A little bit different. The reason I think I said it, but the reason we're running Divines on the body pieces is we get to utilize the Mundus Stone. And so we're running the Serpent Mundus for stamina recovery, and then we're running Dubious Camera and Throne for the drink. So this allows us to get more recovery running Divines while still maintaining really high crit resist, making us like super tanky. As far as other adjustments go, I have 3 Bone Pirates rings. If I'm queuing into Team Deathmatch or like into Battlegrounds solo, and I know I might not have the best groups that are working together, I'll run the other one with stamina recovery, and I'll throw a stamina recovery on, and I'll forgo a little bit of burst damage, knowing that I'm going to run across 1-on-2s and 1-on-3s quite a bit. And with this, then yeah, my damage isn't going to be as high, but I'll be able to dodge roll. I'll be able to survive a little bit more. It'll give me a little bit more recovery to where I can, continue in the fight. But that's up to you. Other alternatives, I've done some testing, and I've looked at like running siphoning attacks over relentless. Oh, my skills. Pretty generic. You've seen this a million times if you watch my videos. Shuffle, Relentless Focus, Shadowy Disguise, Poison Injection, Resolving Vigor, and Dawnbreaker of Smiting. Battlegrounds, I think Dawnbreaker of Smiting is better than Ballista. First of all, it's cheaper. It's 125 versus 175. You're going to get Dawnbreaker back a lot more. 2, people are a lot easier to kill in Battlegrounds currently, even with no procs compared to like last patch. And so in that case, your in cap that we're running on our front bar is going to get most of your single target kills. Dawnbreaker is for like you're fighting a group of 4 and they're packed in this corner and like they're all balled up and running together, and you want to take them out, and you just come in and you hit them with you slap them with the Dawnbreaker, and that's what you're going to use it for. Front bar, in cap, like I said, surprise attack, mass hysteria, rally, ambush, and reverse slice. Yeah, so that's the setup. I've looked at running siphoning potentially for a little bit more recovery over Relentless Focus, and then maybe running a little bit more damage since we're going to have better sustain. But the 8% damage you get off Relentless is just so nice, plus you still get some recovery with it. I think this is the better way to go. I'm not saying that this is the most optimal. I'm going to test a few other things. I'm looking at maybe running like Tower Mundus, or just having a bigger stamina pool so that although my sustain is lower, I don't need as much, like the sustain isn't that big of a deal because we just have a bigger stamina pool, and then we can rely on that. And then we'll be hitting a little bit harder than even this setup because, we're not running the Serpent, we're running the Tower. Looking at maybe the Thief, maybe the Warrior. We'll bounce some things around, but I think this is very good. I've run 10 Battlegrounds matches in this. It's very good. Not as good as proc sets. Proc sets are the way to go, but if you absolutely hate to run proc sets, this is what I would recommend. So this is probably what I'll be going to, once they change some things. So that'll be the end of the video. If you have any questions or comments on the build, please comment in the section below. I know Impregnable seems weird, but it actually works really well in Battlegrounds with the meta the way it is, where everybody's running procs. I know procs don't apply to your crit damage, but everything else does. And taking less damage, which is what Impregnable gives you, allows you to be able to heal better, which allows you to stay in the fight longer. I am very, very tanky with this setup. So, and that's probably the best part about it. So that'll be the end of the video. Hopefully you enjoyed. Yeah, please comment in the section below. Thank you. Have a nice day.